Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February 2022 koha-US Special Interest Group meeting for system administration. I just put the link in the chat for the basic agenda. I didn't update the date on. Okay. Does anyone have any announcements this morning? Me neither. So no announcements this week. We'll talk about, does anyone have any cool reports they're working on or report problems or questions?
I always have to look and see what like my newest report was to see if there's anything interesting there. No, that I guess
idea.
not.
Yeah, I haven't made any. Well, yeah, no, I haven't made anything since our. Oh, just checking all info on a specific account lines transaction because we've been having some like weird find stuff. So you can just put in the like account lines ID and it'll just give you everything out of the account lines table, and that's it. I might also link it to items to get some more item information. But so far we haven't needed that. So, anyone have any bugs? They're excited about new bugs.
There was one on the listserv this recently that seemed kind of interesting. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, you find that I put in a bug which has now been signed off. The paid transaction filter paid transaction button is broken on the transaction tab on the staff side after the fall update, and it's been signed off now. So hopefully we'll get a fix for that soonish.
There, I think that's the bug. So it's talking about being able to use patron attributes as card
Like
numbers on the
yeah.
self-checkout, which I think would be a great enhancement as well.
Agreed. Also, I think it's funny that your bug is 28852 and my bug is 29952. That's
Unintended synchronicity.
yeah.
I had other bugs. I don't remember what they are.
I know I'm like looking at things that were recently updated in my Bugzilla list.
Oh, this not renewable supersedes on hold. I think I talked about that at the
Oh yeah.
circulation SIG, but that's been causing us some problems. I know George has brought it up in the past too, but it'd be good if that could get fixed because it's causing errors mostly. So like if somebody tries to renew something that's on hold, it flashes up a thing that says not renewed because it's on hold, but then that immediately goes away. So people don't realize that when they're renewing, it's not actually renewing.
Yeah. Wow, it was only reported in September of 2020, but it feels longer ago than that. And like that's when I commented on it originally. But it feels like we've had that problem for so long.
Do you think the status needs changed? Because somebody wrote a patch, but it's still setting in new.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Wait, let
I
me
don't
up-
understand the intricacies of Bugzilla enough to know what to change it to.
Yeah, I mean, there is a patch, and it's even pretty recent. Honestly, I'd probably maybe I'll just try signing that off today and see if it even still works. I mean, the patch is almost 2 months old, so depending on what else it touches, it might not apply properly. Oh, yep.
I'm familiar with this bug too.
Yeah. Also, good morning, George, and welcome.
Sorry I was late.
That's okay. Here, I'll put the link back in the chat, the Google Doc, with the 3 bugs that we've talked about so far, including that one. Yeah, that would be really nice if it was fixed. I don't know. I didn't see at what point you jumped in, George, but we were saying there's a patch on it, and it still says new, but I think I'll try
To sign off on it.
signing off on it in the sandbox today and see if it works.
So I actually had a long discussion with Bywater about this, and Lucas dug into it, and I sent him a video that actually showed the problem in detail. And I did it on our test server, which is really slow, so you can actually see the message for more than 1/10 of a millisecond. And he sent me 2 screenshots showing what happens that I'm not completely sure I understand. Let me try to, but you know, the easiest way to show you what he sent me is to
Can you share it?
share my screen, and then I can put the. So this is what Lucas sent me. This is the problem right here. Makes perfect sense now, doesn't it? So he says the first message is sets the renew failed message, and then the other message is a function called load issues tables, and it overwrites that second message. And so this is the actual code, and I guess he didn't attach a bug number to it. But Bywater is aware of it, and I don't know what they're going to do to fix it. But it is a bug, and it is related to that one. So.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see. I know that there's one thing that I'm excited about that's been signed off, but hasn't passed QA or anything yet is the 28633 add a preferred name and effective name field method to patrons, which we're kind of doing that with, like, that's kind of how we use the other name field at Valnet. You know, we put the first and middle name in the first name field, and then we'll use the other name for like nicknames. Like if someone, you know, Jonathan wants to be called John or whatever. And I've set up our like holds and slips using template toolkit to all print the other name if it exists and the first name field if nothing's in the other name field. But that also doesn't help on things like the OPAC itself and anything that gets passed like to any other like SIP connection things if it's checking the name. So I'm looking forward to that one day. Hopefully not too far out. George, you missed the part where we were talking about reports, or no one had any reports to talk about. Do you have anything, any interesting report things to share?
I've been rewriting our end of the month reports for circulation statistics and the like, just because the IMLS has changed things that they want, so I need to start counting differently for the end of next year. That's what I did last year. Is IMLS at the end of 2020 said they wanted a count of circulation of 4 3/4 inch video discs, DVDs and Blu-rays and the like, as opposed to what? VHS, laser discs, Super 8 film. I don't know. We do still have like 2 libraries that still have VHS, but essentially it's like what's your video circulation for the year? And I guess that we have a few libraries now that have the playaway view, but I kept those statistics all last year, and then they didn't ask for them this year, so which kind of pissed me off. So I'm hoping that the new field they want this year is for objects, you know, things that aren't books and aren't media. So I've been working on redoing my reports to collect that over the course of the year instead of trying to come up with a number at the end of the year.
Cool. I've been slowly working on making like a dashboard like Christopher talked about that has all the stuff we need for our monthly stats so we can run one report.
Yeah,
Gives us what we need.
I have some reports that I do like that. We have enough data that we collect that's different at each library that it takes more than, it's too much for one report for this system.
Yeah. And for us, it's just for Latah County, not for the whole consortium
Yeah.
that I'm writing a report for. So
yeah, I'm writing reports for all the libraries. So
yeah. So that makes sense that the dashboard doesn't work as well for your whole consortium. So
yeah, 7 libraries is different than 50.
just a little.
Yeah, I started making a dashboard like that, and then I just decided it wasn't worth it, and I ran all the reports myself and compiled everything in Excel because I was going a little crazy, cuckoo crazy.
This isn't a new report, but it's one that some people might find interesting. Let me pull it up here and get it ready while you guys talk about some other things. I did manage on Sunday night. I managed to. I was editing a report at home, watching Doctor Who. I'd run it, and then I'd set the computer aside, and then I watch a little bit of Doctor Who, and then I'd wake up a little bit, and I'd pick it up to see what the results were, and then I'd tweak it, and I'd set the computer back down. And then I woke up at like 1:30 in the morning when Faye was shaking me, saying, "Why don't you just come to bed, you idiot?" And then I got into work the next morning. Apparently, that last time I ran this report, it crashed into a cron job. And so when I got to the office at like 20 to 8 yesterday morning, everybody's going, "Koha's down, Koha's down." And the report that I had run had locked the statistics table so that nothing could be written to the statistics table, which is not a good thing because everything needs to write to the statistics table just about.
Yeah.
So Bywater, got us restarted, and then I went to edit that same report again here, and then it did the exact same thing, and then Liz figured out that I was locking the table. The report was somewhere or another. It had executed some bizarre MySQL function it executed in the background, and once she unlocked that table, then everything was fine, and I sent out an email saying everything's great, and then rack space went down. And so I don't know if that affected anybody else, but yesterday we were down 3 separate times for 2 different reasons.
Yeah, the rack space, I didn't go until 9 yesterday because I was working till 6, and I got in and there were a bunch of emails at like 8:05 from the people who start work at 8, like our catalogers and our access services manager, that were like, "Koha's down." And then at 8:45, a bunch of emails that were like, "It's working again. Thanks, Lisette." And I was like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
wasn't
even
even awake
working
for that.
yet.
Yeah. Okay, so here's this report. Let me share my screen again. So what I did with this one, I probably should have run it before. You guys got to watch the little thing spin.
Is this the one that crashed your system? Are we gonna
No.
get to see it light on fire?
This one does take a minute or two to run, but I don't think it's ever crashed the system. No, it's not crashing the system. I can still load Koha in the other window. This one is somebody wanted a report to show a count of the borrowers who had checked materials out. How many borrowers checked materials out at this library on each day of the month? And I had a couple of people that asked this question, and that becomes a really, for 51 libraries, it becomes, 31 days potentially for each library. And so I wanted to find a way to do that where each library would just have one row. Now, maybe this will crash the system. I don't know. It's taken a long time to run. A lot of these monthly reports that I do, I schedule them to run like in the middle of the night on the first of the month, so that I don't have to, so that I come to work on the first of the month and they're all done. But I didn't do that this month because since it's the beginning of the year, I'm changing a bunch of them because of the changes in what people want to gather for the year. Another one that I changed wasn't at the request of a library, but it was kind of a realization that there was a privacy issue. I have a couple of reports that I run monthly for the libraries based on like circulation by borrower zip code and patron count by borrower zip code. And I realized with circulation by borrower zip code, with both of those, if these are reports that get shared publicly, and let's say somebody comes in and gets a new card and somebody does a typo in the zip code, that makes that patron individually identifiable. It means that somebody can look at that, and if they're the only patron in the system that has that zip code, then it means that people could identify that individual patron. So I rewrote those reports so that if there are fewer than 10 people in that zip code, it just puts a dash there and then groups them all together so that people that are in a zip code where there's not a lot of people won't be able to identify them. Oh, so it finished. So the way that I wrote this is that each day of the month is a subquery generating its own column. So on each day of the month, it gives me a count of, at Atchison on Sunday, the 1st of January, Saturday, the 1st of January, 3 borrowers use their account, which were probably renewals, but this gives us a count for each day. And the way that I did that was with subqueries so that each day of the month is its own separate column, which means that this report, let's show the SQL code. It's a little long.
Just a touch.
I don't know how many lines this is, but, and then of course I had to come up with some logic so that on the months that don't have a 31, 30, or 29, those, nothing reports in those.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a cool report, and
Yeah. Did you put this in the reports library?
I don't think I have yet.
I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything too specific.
But it's only 644 lines long.
Yeah.
So by no
Perfect for
means the
the
longest
reports
report I've
library.
ever written. But the advantage of it for the people that want that data is that they're, when you output this to Excel, you can filter on branch name and just get all of the data for one branch without the report being, 56 results times 31 days, however many separate separate rows that would be. There are a bunch of reports that I try to do that way so that there's several reports that I run where I need a row for each library, and if there isn't a library that has data, then it will often, if you don't do it right, it will collapse a row. So, but if you do it by subqueries, where you have one subquery that says, give me a list of all of my libraries, and then the other ones populate the data and are left joined and populate the data. That way, if you have a value that's a 0, that library won't collapse. It'll still be part of the report. So each month, each library will be on the same line in an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, that would be like 1,700 lines, and
Oh, the
did it the other
56.
way.
Yeah. It's easier to put it in a table like this.
Yeah. Well, and like even just for our, like for the Latah County branches, because we run basically the same report, except it puts it out the other way, where it's all one report. But it is not the most ideal looking report when it comes out.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like, okay, well, right now I just want to get the month totals, even if I want to save the report so we can refer to it.
Well, and the other things that I stuck in there to make it easier for comparison from month to month is I threw in days of the week. So that's so these two are created through unions. The branch names all come from the main report, but adding the date and the day are just queries that run unions, are just unioned into there. So. I don't, it's been so long since I wrote this, I don't remember how I did it. it's one of those things you write it and then you're really energized and you're really focused and it's like a brainstorm going on. And then when you're done, it's like, whoa, how did I do that? So, but yeah, I should share that on the wiki.
Okay. Thank you, George, for that. Does anyone have any other systems things they want to talk about?
So I have something I can share, I guess, something that came up yesterday. Share my screen. Let's try this one. Oh, that's my desktop. No judgment. So are you seeing my test server now with the confirm holds page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have that jQuery in that George wrote to default the pickup location on the regular holds page. So if I go to the regular hold, it defaults the pickup location here and here to the logged in library because that's what we're expecting. On this page, so this is a multi-hold request, so I use the checkboxes to place multiple holds at once. It's blanked out, so if you try to place these holds, it gives you a little alert and tells you you've got to change those one by one. So I just added to George's code a little bit of extra so that it does that same filling.
So it populates based on the pickup location on the logged in library?
Yeah. So
I think if you don't have that code, when you do the top pickup, it changes all of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, it's still more clicks than I want. So I'm good with having the little extra bit of code in there.
Yeah, and I just did at our last meeting, I said, this is something you got to do now. So sorry, sucks to be you. I just told them that they had the extra clicks and that I would maybe think about working on it. I don't know.
Oh, okay. What was the other thing I was gonna share? Oh, I discovered that you can, I don't know if this is safe or legal or whatever, but I've been playing with the APIs more, and when you start doing those calls, it makes things sucky. So I think that this one has some in it, maybe. Yeah, so I've got API calls. So when I've discovered that after I put more than one of these in, when I type, it's like really laggy. It's not doing it now in these boxes. So I discovered that you can import code externally, which is also, I think, good for sharing things. So on my OPAC JavaScript, instead of having that call written out in the syspref box, I'm having it delivered to the syspref box from my GitHub page. And since this is neutral to our collection, that means anybody could use this code to get that functionality. Again, I don't know if this is safe or legit, but it works. So you can see this is that icon code that I talked about before. So it's pulling in the code to generate these pictures from my GitHub page, which has the actual API call on that project, which is, nope. So it's using this code to generate those via this call instead of junking up the box with this code. So I'd never done that before. I thought it was kind of exciting that it worked. So thought I'd check. and it's just using JavaScript deliver as the content delivery
That's
network.
that's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been fighting with the series still. I haven't gotten it where I want it to be. That's what was in my staff jQuery. It's still not doing things, but it's fun to play with the APIs. So if you haven't done that yet, I recommend it.
Let's see. Oh, so we are hopefully in the meeting that I have right after this, hopefully going to be finalizing our system-wide circ rules. The whole consortium, we're going to have standardized circ and fine rules, which means we'll have the fun later this month probably of going through all 49 libraries circulation and fine rules to clear them all out, except for a few specific things like professional collection and like each library is still going to be able to have its own rules for hotspots because those don't go through our courier, things like that. But if anyone knows any fast ways to clear all the rules out of the circ table,
This sounds like a
start
job for
over.
your support vendor.
Yeah, I hope so. They haven't gotten back to me that they can do that, but I'm very much hoping so. Because we'll have a nice like Excel sheet with all the same names, like if you just dump the table out. So I'm kind of hoping we can just send that to them and say, hey, can you drop all the circles and put these in instead?
They should be able to do that. The data team should be able to do that. I don't think that's that complicated, especially if you, I mean, if you load up all of the system-wide circ rules and then say, now can you delete everything except, you know, these from these libraries?
Or even have them delete everything except the system-wide, because the amount of other rules that need to go in is going to be pretty minimal.
Yeah,
That I wouldn't mind just redoing that. Because it's basically like hotspots and maybe like 2 other item types. And otherwise it's going to be all the same. And mostly there's only a few branches that have some of those other item types. So hopefully it shouldn't be too big of a problem.
I found that after, we only have like 3 libraries now that have fines, that have late fees. And once you get rid of the late fees, it becomes a lot easier. There's a lot more areas where they match once you don't have the late fees, because we had late fees all over the place between, you know, one library was charging a nickel every 3 days, which was a pain in the ass to deal with. And you know, they had these weird intervals, and amounts varied on different item types. But once you get rid of those fines, everybody's circulation rules are really similar. I kind of have libraries that are 14-day libraries and 21-day libraries, and videos are almost always 7 days. And you know, once those fines are gone, that was really what was holding us back. So I'm working towards that a little bit, trying to eliminate the redundancy. And then I still have these occasional oddball ones. Like I have one where adults have different rules than children. Adults can check out more items than children can, and I have some weird things like that going on still. But there's so much. Once the fines are gone, it's a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, and we only have one library with fines left, and
Who's
so
that?
I guess we'll have Grangeville. We'll have to not drop theirs, I guess. I was forgetting about that because I'm not their mentor, so someone else has to worry about that.
Yeah, consider
Theirs.
yourself really lucky there.
I'm actually not sure who their mentor is right now, because Because we had, because Bonnie left, and I think she was their mentor, but the new guy is still pretty new. So I don't know if he's doing it yet. So maybe I am gonna have to end up being the one who does theirs this time around, actually. Which is fine. I mean, I think we're just gonna, the fact that we only have one branch that's gonna need a whole set of circ and fine rules that's slightly different is much better than having 49 libraries with different rules at every one. So
There's a consortium here, the CanShare Consortium near Wichita. They have what I think about 8 libraries or something like that. And they just decided when they started this consortium that if you join, these are the circulation rules. They didn't. They made it non-optional to follow, that everybody was going to have the same rules.
I feel like there was something else that I was going to talk about. I'm not finding it. We've been having some trouble with stock rotation. But there's a bug that's been pushed to old stable. I'm hoping we can get it pushed to our next security update so we don't have to wait until our next major update to get it fixed. But if any item that should be rotating on the stock rotation is checked out, the whole thing fails. The whole cron job fails and nothing moves forward. And that's bug 29808. So we've just had to be manually moving things forward to keep it moving.
I'm hoping you guys perfect the stock rotation before I recommend it to the one library that might get some use out of it here.
I know. I'm pretty sure we're like the only people in the US using it. And I feel like we must be the only people who are using it very heavily because I feel like we keep finding bugs that nobody else is using. Or that like nobody else seems to be using the feature enough to be finding. So, but overall, you know, once we get the things worked out, it should be very helpful.
So the stock rotation moves items, you load them into a rota, and then after X number of days, the cron job automatically pushes them onto a new location and generates reports.
Yeah, well, so there's, here, I can show you. Okay, so we have a report that we tell our people to run, that I wrote for it, but there's also the new transfers to send table,
Ooh,
which I have some jQuery that blocks the on loan, so it only shows on the shelf stuff, but it doesn't print as nicely as just like a holds report. And if I recall correctly, this doesn't like this one is missing in the stacks, but it's still showing up on this transfers to send, even though it's this one. Same barcode. So I have a report, and then it also sends an email to the email that's in for that library every day that there's something, that there's new things to move. So like those all go to notices, and then that means Connie here can kind of keep an eye on it for our branches. I think it's this one. So you can just like run the report and see, and it gives you where it's going, and that's mostly because most of our items are going all to the same place. We have it set up so that like it all goes in the same order as our courier. So he can like take the 2 crates and just drop them off and pick up 2 crates and drop them off, and doesn't fill up too much. And then sometimes there's one that's like, oh, this one's actually going to Deary. And that's most of those are usually because there's like something wrong with another packet, like too many items were missing, and so they moved some around so that there'd be the right number. And I put date last seen, and part of that was because we were having some trouble where this report was also what we were using before the transfers update, the last update, where we can say, why is it moving? It's moving for or stock rotation as opposed to like transferring for a hold. We couldn't do that before, so my report was like asking about if it's in a rota and if it's transferring. And then this was because it was doing, before it would put everything into transit when it was requested, instead of saying like this needs to get sent, it was just saying this item is now in transit. Even if it was checked out to a patron, it'd be checked out to a patron and in transit. And so this column was just to say if the date last seen is like since the, or but before the date that it supposedly went into transit. That's interesting, because we're all seeing yesterday. That's unusual. I wonder why it's doing that. Anyway, that's
What's the actual SQL for this? There we go.
and I mean it's not that much. It's mostly just the like stock rotation, a little bit of the item and bib information, not lost or damaged status, not checked out, only if it's for stock rotation, repatriation, or advance. And it's not waiting on hold. And the home branch doesn't equal the holding branch. And again, that was like a problem from before where sometimes items were showing up on the list, even if they were at the location they were supposed to be at. And I just didn't take that off when I was able to fix the report. So not a very complicated report. And then right now we also have one this one. Okay, yeah, so this is items. This is while we're waiting for that patch, so our person who's in charge of this can move items along. So this is just the title of the rota, how many items are in it. Most of them are these, well, now we've started doing our AV rotation this way too, so we don't have to be doing it manually every few months, but we have title of the thing, how many items are in there, and what the ID is. And then when one of the items in the rota last arrived at the branch that it's at. And then it's sorted by, so the oldest ones will be at the top. And then this gives us a report of what the items are. So we can see like, oh, well, that one's Mending and that one's missing in the stacks. So that's why they're still haven't moved. And then they can just move. You have to move the items individually, which is very annoying. You can't move the whole rota. You can't say, I want to advance all the items to the next stage. And this is set up to open in a new tab. So it just does it. And you don't have to like make sure to middle click or whatever. And then Does this just link into itself? Oh no, this goes to the actual. Here are the Troy. Here's the rotation stage there, where it can say move to next stage. I think that's not letting it move to the next stage because it's lost, Mending. But that one's lost and it'll let it move to the next stage. So that's kind of weird. Oh, that's kind of what we're doing right now to make the
Well,
rota
actually,
work.
that top one said it was in transit. That's probably why I wouldn't let you.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. And that's what I don't have that on my little, I should probably have that on my stock rotation report with the items. I've really been enjoying using the I've been using the case logic for the Mending and Lost. I've been able to put in, I have labels on, oh wait, that's sure the right screen. Okay. We have like labels set up for these damage status. So on the code here, I put the span class damage Mending because that's how I check for the labels with my jQuery. So then all those still show up as well, which is really just the damage Mending and with librarian statuses. So it's really easy to glance to see what's going on there. I haven't done those yet for Lost, but I think that that's probably an eventually project. Make similar things there. So, and then just put it in like the button class for these links so that they look a little nicer. And then they look like the buttons if you're actually moving it here. Format it. I could even probably make it be the same content, but it wasn't.
You could probably put the same font awesome icon on there too.
Yeah. So, but I was just trying to get it working so we could keep things moving. Our hope is that one day, once this is all worked out and functioning better, that we can use it for our new items, which we've been using it for about a year and a half for all of our new items. And other than this bug, it's mostly been going great. And then we've also started doing our media rotation. Although there's still a lot that has to get like moved into the new rota system. We're just doing like a little bit at a time. But then in theory, that should all rotate automatically indefinitely. And we have like a report that automatically gets emailed to our person who manages them for items that are like have a lost status, or have a damage status that's been set like more than a certain amount of time ago. We can follow up on like, is that in Mending for a really long time because it needs to, because it's like waiting for a part, or is it because it's going to get deleted and they just haven't had time to delete it yet? And we need to fill in some of those cracks in the rota. And then we'd also like to be able to use it once we have everything else running smoothly for some of our 7 branches have like the fiction adult, well, yeah, all the fiction and nonfiction that's not paperbacks rotates throughout all the branches. And so we'd like to be able to like automate some of that where it can happen automatically instead of us having to like send somebody out to each branch and look over everything. And
Sending
time.
somebody out was my favorite part of my job there.
Yeah, but no one
that was me.
else wants to do it now. No one here wants to do it now.
Yeah, I know, nobody cares about the branches.
So, well, I don't think that's true. I care about the branches, but I don't have the authority to go out and do that, do all the rotation stuff. So,
When Paula was sick at the Beauville Library, I was always, Paula's sick and I can't find somebody to work. I'm going.
yep.
Get away from all you losers. And then afterwards, I'll go fishing.
Heather, I see in the chat you changed damage to mending. I do think, and someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least at one point, I'm pretty sure changing something to the damage status would like charge the last patron who checked it out. Or maybe I'm totally wrong about that.
We don't have fines or anything, so.
Lost statuses will do that if you have certain system preferences set.
Yeah, I think at one point there was a there was a lost status at Latah County Library called mending or damaged. And I think the reason that we did that was because the damage statuses in Koha would not show up when you're checking an item in.
Yeah, they do
And
now.
so I think that's why we did the mending as a lost status instead of a damage status.
Okay.
Yeah, I just changed the word damage to mending technical services in the authorized value. So I put a link in the chat of one record where I have one of the volumes in my office to fix. I think it looks nice.
Yeah. Agreed. And our mending stuff doesn't show up on the patron side. That's all hidden. Because some of the branches, sometimes things are in mending for a while. And especially if it's like the only item on the record.
Yeah, we have it revealed to the public since that'll let a reference librarian and everyone know where to get it, because we'll let we're a special collection. Most everything is used on site only. So if I don't have something like actively drying, then someone can page it and use it, even if it is in the process of being repaired.
ये छोड़ दिया, हाथ के आगे बढ़े।
अच्छी लग रही है ना?
हाँ, पर अभी
Hi, Michael. Yes, you're an hour late.
Oops, I did that last time too. Sorry.
Well, I think strictly speaking, you're only 54 minutes late.
Yeah.
So maybe you're getting better.
By the end of the year, I'll be on time.
Did you have anything in particular you wanted to talk about, hey, Michael?
Nothing that I can think of, no.
Okay. Like, I stopped taking notes because I was showing things off. I'm gonna have to. Okay, I'll take better notes there with some of the info about the reports I showed off. But for now, I'm just putting such stock rotation stuff. Well, I think. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about?
I just want to remind people here that are interested that I believe the consortium SIG is rescheduled for this Thursday at 10. That's what I have on my calendar. So if you're interested in the consortium stuff, be there. I'll be late, just so you know. But I should be there. And I don't
I'm
remember what we were
interested,
going
but
to
I'm
talk
actually
about.
off on Thursday. I think it was the that holds stuff that we talked about.
Yeah, we talked about the holds quite a bit. We had like a separate holds working group. This is getting back into just consortia overall. So I don't know what Bob has planned, but we'll find out.
Okay. And then our next meeting for this group will be Tuesday, March 8th.
I just got an email from Bywater, from Nick. So this is something that maybe more pertains to the consortial group. They're giving me a price on, I don't remember which group I talked to about it, but I had asked Bywater if they could give me an estimate on what it would cost to do library extended attributes. So like we have patron extended attributes where you can add different attributes to patrons. I wanted a system where we could add, essentially add new fields to library records. And they're quoting me a price of $5,000. So the things that I want to get out of that, you know, like there's no place in the library record to put like the director's name or who's their ILL contact or what's their courier number. What county are they in? Those things I found ways to use. I use essentially the library address number 3, and then I separate these things with pipes and descriptions to kind of add a bunch of data in there. But this way, there would, you know, just be able to add a whole batch of extended fields. And I thought doing it as attributes would be useful because that way they could be adapted to whatever kind of situation you're in. You know, instead of, you know, saying, you know, could we add a director field to the library record? That's important to us because we, you know, we have 50 libraries with, you know, 50 directors, but that's probably not important for Heather or anybody else. So this was just a way of adding fields to those to give it some flexibility. So $5,000, that's not a bad estimate for that feature. So.
You know, speaking of ILLs, has anybody figured out or used their ILL module just as like a Z3950?
No, we haven't used the ILL module at all, although Jason and I think are going to talk about experimenting with that. I think we should do that in the spring, Jason. When we have the Kager meeting, we should talk seriously about doing that.
I agree.
Then we can suck Michael into the project and death to share it.
We're still recording.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I heard of Bywater said that you could do that, but I haven't figured it out yet and just wondering if anybody else had.
I haven't heard about it, no.
And the last time, well, I think it was at the CERC meeting when I turned on the ILL module on my test server and it just errors out. So that's as far as I've gotten.
Yeah, there's some backend setup and we're all set up on our production for it, but I didn't want to send barring messages to other libraries when I'm testing it out. So I just wanted to import like brief records.
Okay. Heather put in the chat a video that Bywater shared.
Oh, I saw they had that video out last week and I just hadn't looked to see what it was. Wow, a 2-part video from Jesse and Kelly. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are
Okay.
the videos I was watching, but I thought I heard Jesse mention it, but I couldn't find it again. So might have been misremembering.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording the meeting. And thanks everyone for coming and anyone who's watching later on the YouTube.
Take care.
See you later.